LeBron James and Steph Curry, two of the biggest names in basketball, two of the greatest players to ever play the game, future first ballot Hall of Famers, and two players who have been the faces of the league for nearly a decade. Even though they no longer remain the two best players in the NBA, their names, likeness, and popularity is what draws so much attention to the league. But the days of LeBron James and Steph Curry running the NBA with no one in their way to stop them will soon be coming to an end. Even though both of them are still playing at a high level despite LeBron being 39 and Steph soon to be 36 next month, it's only a matter of time before they ride off into the sunset of retirement. And as a fan of the game and someone who has been following the league since the Michael Jordan days, it's going to be weird seeing a league without LeBron James and Steph Curry in a lineup. But just like every great before them, what's the one thing they want to do before they hang it up and call it quits? The one thing to further cement their legacy as an NBA basketball player. It's winning one last championship. Each player has 4 titles to their name. Adding a 5th would put them among the elite of the elite with names like Michael Jordan, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan, those players in the modern NBA era that were able to win 5 or more titles as the superstar on their team. But for both LeBron and Steph, there's just one problem. Not only is their time running out, but their teams just aren't good enough to conceivably win a title, not just for this season, but for next season as well, with how they're currently constructed and the future assets they have available to them. Of course, a lot of things can change between now and next season, but in recent days, there has been more and more talk of LeBron and Steph wanting to team up, playing together in the final years of their career to try and win one last championship. But even if both of these all-time greats decide to team up going into next season, can it happen, and would it actually work? Well, let's talk about it. But first, this video is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Do you like making bets on player props and stats? Is fantasy basketball your thing? You're going to want to hear about this offer then from Underdog Fantasy. For those that aren't familiar with Underdog, let me tell you about their app and my personal favorite that I use on the app, NBA Pick'ems. With Pick'ems, you can pick higher or lower on most player stats and win money based on the ones you get right. You pick higher or lower and you can win up to 20 times your money in a single night if you do 5 Pick'ems and you get them all right. And guys, they're offering viewers of this channel an exclusive offer. If you use the promo code AND1HOOPS, all one word, you'll get your first deposit doubled up to $100. Who doesn't want free money, right? It's really that easy. It's also a great way to support the channel as well. I'll leave a link to the site and the code in the description if you're interested, and let me know what picks you guys end up making. Now, even though the Warriors and Lakers would like to think they are still title contenders and that they can suddenly turn things around and make a deep playoff run this season, the fact of the matter is, even if they do make the playoffs, which isn't a certainty at this point with both teams hovering around 500 and in the play-in territory, even if they squeak into the playoffs as the final 2 seeds, they're not going to be able to keep up with and beat teams like the Nuggets, Clippers, maybe even the Wolves in a 7-game series. You could throw the Thunder in there as well, but I think a lot of people have doubts that their youth and experience in the playoffs will actually be able to take out some of these veteran teams. But for the Lakers and Warriors, they simply do not have the right roster construction and requisite talent to truly make their way out of the Western Conference. You could see another scenario in which both teams upset some of their higher seeds like we saw last season, but when push comes to shove, they're not getting over the Nuggets. They're not going to be making it to the NBA Finals. Now, for both teams, they remain quiet at the trade deadline, despite a great deal of speculation and rumors that they were shopping a lot of their players to try and get win-now pieces to get them over the hump and back into contention. But one rumor we did hear recently that was reported by ESPN that in just 24 hours leading up to the deadline, the Warriors and Lakers owners had direct discussions about the Warriors trading for LeBron James, which obviously were unsuccessful, and Joe Lacob convincing the Lakers to move on from their superstar and cash cow in LeBron James. But despite their efforts being unsuccessful, rumors of course have been circulating about how the players are in contact with one another and wanting to team up and playing under coach Steve Kerr.
Well, what if I told you guys, having talked to sources on this, that LeBron and Steph have actually been thinking about playing together for months, and that they actually want to play together for Steve Kerr, and that is something that they want to see happen, where they can win something that will be meaningful and would engage basketball fans around the world. And that is with Team USA this summer at the Paris Olympics.
Now, in that video where Brian Windhorst mentioned this being a real thing, he did of course lead with the idea that it would be both of these players teaming up in Golden State, but ended it by saying both wanted to team up with Kerr as their coach for the Paris Olympic Games. Leave it to Windhorst to stir up drama and sound bites that can be left for fans to take out of context. But even despite all of that, Additional reports have come out that both Steph and LeBron would be open to teaming up together and that the Warriors will still try yet again to make a bid for LeBron James. The question is though, how would this work? Well, by now, most of you know that LeBron James has stated on multiple occasions that he desires to play with his son Bronny James, who is slated to be drafted this summer, even though, and I recently made a video about this, that Bronny is not an NBA level player, and whatever team goes after him, it would be for the sole purpose of getting LeBron James for one season. But for LeBron, he has a player option for the final year of his current deal at $51.4 million. Most are assuming that he will decline that option to become an unrestricted free agent so he can be free to join wherever Bronny gets drafted, likely taking the vet minimum to do so. Now, in order for LeBron to actually join the Warriors, this would essentially be the only way that he could do it, because the Warriors would not be able to afford signing LeBron to a high dollar contract as a free agent, not unless they were able to do a sign and trade, or say LeBron opts into the final year of his deal and they do a sign and trade that route where they need to match the outgoing $50 million plus in salary. But even then, that's easier said than done. You're talking about a situation in which you would need to do a sign and trade for Klay Thompson on a big contract, which the Lakers aren't going to be willing to sign Klay up for a big extension, or you're talking about a trade combining salaries of guys like Wiggins, Kuminga, and Klay Thompson. But then you're getting to that point where does it really make sense for the Warriors? Is it really worth giving up on a player like Kuminga for 1 year of LeBron James? So really, the most likely scenario in which LeBron would join the Warriors is he declines his player option, becomes a free agent, and signs with the Warriors for the vet minimum. And even then, you're talking about the Warriors needing to move other pieces because they're a second apron team, meaning they're over the second apron of the luxury tax threshold. And they would need to get under that second apron to be able to use things like signing a player to a vet min deal as exceptions. But the unlikelihood aside in all of this, all of the challenges that would come with it and just trying to get LeBron to join Golden State, because keep in mind the Lakers are going to be doing everything in their power to have LeBron retire a Laker, even if it means trading into the draft to get Bronny. But let's say for a moment they were able to get it done. LeBron joins the Warriors, and let's even say the Warriors are able to re-sign Klay to a team-friendly deal. They keep their core three of Steph, Klay, and Draymond, as Draymond is still under contract for the next 3 years. You have the core three, and you have LeBron James. Sounds amazing, right? You're talking about another Warriors big three with adding Kevin Durant, and now it's LeBron James. And we know Steph is an unselfish superstar and can sacrifice touches. It's a title team, right? Not so fast. You see, I think what a lot of people fail to realize is that LeBron James, while he's still one of the best players in the game, and it's mind-boggling what he's been able to do despite being in his 22nd season in the NBA, LeBron James next season is going to be turning 40 years old. He's going to tie Vince Carter for the most seasons played in the NBA at 22 years. He's going to have logged the most minutes and number of games going into next season, and while I don't doubt that he'll still be solid because he just never seems to have a dramatic drop-off in his game, he's still going to be 40 years old, a 40-year-old who no longer plays a lick of defense and isn't as explosive and efficient as he used to be. Not only that, but you're talking about a year older Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, who has looked more or less washed, and Steph Curry, who is still one of the greatest shooters in the league, but even for Steph, he's having one of his lower efficiency seasons shooting it from three and especially from the field relative to his usage. He's going to be turning 37 next season. Still a superstar, don't get me wrong, still one of the best players in the league, but not as consistent as he used to be and has lost a step when it comes to getting to the basket and also playing off the ball. Unless the Warriors are able to add some younger pieces to this roster, which they would be able to given their cap sheet, as talented as the Big Four would be, and they would draw a lot of headlines and viewership, but they would just be too old. Too old to compete on a nightly basis with some of the high-paced, fast, young talent around the league. Too old to keep up with the high-octane offense of the Nuggets, the Thunder, not quick enough to go up against the Wolves' hard-nosed defense. The Warriors, with LeBron, would be a poor defensive team and a team that wouldn't complement each other's skill sets at this late stage in their career. And the biggest thing that I think people are forgetting, the clashing of egos on this team. I know some will say, well, it worked when they added Kevin Durant. Yeah, that's back when these guys were a lot younger. They were winning championships. They were getting paid fat contract extensions. For Klay Thompson and Draymond Green, especially now, you're seeing their egos getting the best of them. Unwilling to accept lesser roles and very insecure, realizing that their heyday is coming to an end. You talk about adding one of the biggest walking egos in the league to this team in LeBron James with some already insecure veterans. That's a recipe for disaster in the locker room. I don't care how good of friends LeBron and Draymond are. There would be problems as the season wore on, especially if they start tallying up some losses. So no, it's a fun idea and I would certainly watch it, but it wouldn't work. It's just a little too late for that. I'd be curious to know what you guys think. Do you think LeBron teaming up with Steph Curry would work? Let me know in the comments. As always, be sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.